You can use allocation accounts in documents and journals. And let's start by having a look at how to use allocation accounts in documents. Now, you can use allocation accounts in sales and purchase documents. You can use them in quotes and blanket orders, in orders, invoices, credit memos, and so on. Now, in most cases, you will probably use them in orders and invoices. Now, there are two ways to use allocation accounts in a document. And let me show you this by creating a new purchase invoice. So I will enter the vendor number. So let's just take an existing vendor, enter the vendor invoice number. There we go. All right, and so like I just said, you can use allocation accounts in two different ways. So the first one is by selecting here allocation account in the type field. So you can see that besides GL account, item, resource, fixed assets, and so on, we also have allocation account. So that's the first way. The second way is to post to a GL account and then on the line enter the allocation account number. So if I go here, you can see that there's the allocation account number field. All right. So let's make a few examples so that it's that it becomes clear when to use which option. And I will start by directly posting to an allocation account. And so this means that here in the type field, I will select allocation account. Now, this is something that you do when you have created an allocation account for a specific GL account. So in my case, remember, I've created an allocation account for building expenses. So if I go to allocation accounts to quickly show you again, so here you can see building expenses. So, and here you can see that I've created an allocation account for GL account 60-60, which is repair and maintenance for property. So based on the department, I've assigned a fixed percentage. Now this means that if we receive, for example, a purchase invoice for a property expense, this GL account, I can directly post to the allocation account. And when posting the invoice, Business Central will allocate to each department based on the percentages here. All right. What you cannot do, so what is not possible with this option is to use an allocation account with the inherit type. So this example, I've created general expenses. So in this example, I've created an allocation account with the type inherit from parent. If you have an allocation account with this type, you should use the second way because you need a GL account on the document line where the allocation account can inherit the account, the destination account to post to. All right. So this means that if I would try to select here general expenses, I will get an error message, you see, and that's because this allocation account again is set up with inherit from parent. Okay, but in this case, suppose that we have received an invoice for building expenses. I can then directly select building expenses. All right, so I can then enter the quantity and the unit cost. So for example, 2,500. So I'm entering one line, but because of the allocation account that I'm using here, Business Central will post 3 general ledger entries to the GL account that we just saw. Now this is something that you can check before posting, as you probably know, by running the preview posting function. So let's give it a few seconds. So in here you can see that instead of creating 2 GL entries, it will create 4 GL entries. So let's have a look. So in here you can see now, let me go to the white layout. So 3 times or 3 entries that will be created for this GL account for the sales, production, administration department with these amounts. And so based on the allocation percentage. All right. So let's try to post. So I will click here on post. Yes. So let's check the posted invoice. So here on the posted invoice, you can now see that in the posting process, Business Central applied the settings of the allocation accounts. So now we have a posted invoice with 3 lines. And of course, also if you would run the find entries function, you will get the same entries as we just saw in the preview posting. As if I go to GL entries, you can see these 4 GL entries. So that's the first way to use an allocation account in a document. So in this example, I've used the purchase invoice, but it works in exactly the same way on a sales document, for example, a sales invoice. A second way to use an allocation account on a document is by entering the allocation account number on the document line. So also here, let's look at an example. And again, I will create a purchase invoice. So let's use the same vendor and then enter the vendor invoice number. There we go. All right, so in my first example, I selected an allocation account here, but the limitation is that you cannot use this option for allocations that have the inherit type. So the second option is just entering a GL account on the document and then use the allocation account number a bit further down the line. So let's look for an account. So I will look for a rent account, an expense account. So for example, rent leases. All right, so I will enter a quantity and an amount. So and by scrolling to the right, you will see the allocation account number appearing. So here I can now enter an allocation account, and yeah, you can use allocation accounts with predefined accounts and of course also with the inherit type. Now with predefined accounts, you should know that the accounts of or the GL account that I entered on the line will be replaced by the destination accounts specified in the allocation account number. So this means that in this case, I have entered rent leases, but in the end, Business Central will not post to the account because it will replace the GL account on the line with the destination GL accounts of my allocation account number. So it doesn't always make sense to use this option, although it's possible. So if I would go to preview posting, you can see that 4 entries. And you can see indeed that it's not using the rent expense account on the line, but the destination accounts of the allocation. So this means that if you're using allocations with predefined GL accounts, predefined destination GL accounts, in most cases it will be more obvious to directly post to the allocation account by selecting allocation account here. But this way of working is of course very interesting for allocations, more general allocations that use the inherit type. So we have created a general allocation for expenses, which means that in this case, this is an expense. I would like to allocate the expense to different departments, and I would like Business Central to use this GL account. So I can keep the amount, no problem. But here in the allocation account number, I will select here the general expenses allocation. So let me quickly show you the details. So not from this one, but sorry. So let's first select the allocation account and then let me show you the details. So remember, general expenses use inherit from parent because I would like Business Central to take the GL account that I've entered on the document line and then allocate to the different departments using these percentages. All right. So and that's what you can achieve by using this way of working. So in this case, when I click here on posting and then preview posting, so number of GL entries 4. So here you can see now that literally the GL account on the line is inherited as the destination account for my allocations. So that's again very interesting because companies quite often want to use the same allocation for a group of accounts, like for example expense accounts and so on. So in this case we can also go ahead and post. So let me click here on post. Yes. So let's check the posted invoice. And so here you can see now the three different lines. And of course, if I click here on Find Entries, you can see the same result. So that's a second way of using allocation accounts on documents.